everybody, and welcome back to Photographer Life Check. I'm your host, Qurissy, and today we have the illustrious Jazmin Jenay.
Oh, illustrious. Yeah.
My girl, how are you doing today?
I feel great. It's Tuesday. Today's my mom's birthday, so I'm just so
Happy
grateful
birthday,
for her.
Mom.
All right.
Is it still Gemini season?
It is Gemini season. Yeah.
Shout out to the Geminis.
Shout
I
out
do
to
love
the
a Gemini.
Geminis, So today's her birthday. I just got the phone with her. And I feel good. I'm grateful for this day.
Beautiful. I'm grateful to have you here.
Thank you.
If this is your first time tuning in, every episode we start off with the photographer fit check. So if you could get into it, let the people know what you're wearing. You don't got to stand up if you don't want to, but you know what I'm saying?
I just, I'm sitting on my bed, but if I feel like if you follow me, I'm a painter as well. And I'm always kind of wearing this painter's jumpsuit. I'm really just getting into the idea of a creative uniform. And it just helps me not spend time thinking about what I'm gonna wear. The jumpsuit got paint on it. It's already fly. It already brings people in. They want to know, oh, you're a painter. So it just kind of helps me streamline my get ready with me and then into whatever the creative thing I am trying to do today. So, and it's the top and the bottom. It just kind of works. See, that's what I'm wearing. And then nice little head wrap and the grilly.
Come on, girl. Yes.
Earrings, Elisa Johnson glasses. Yeah.
I really love the frames. I also wear glasses. So anytime I see some fly frames, I'll be like, yes, I need another pair. I want a really large collection.
Same. I got the same ones in black. Boom.
Yeah, see, my same. Because once I love a thing, I'm like, I'm going to just get it in another color.
Gotta get another. She has really good colors, and all her stuff is 50% off right now. So I actually want to go to the store to try on stuff if you down to slide. But yeah.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, so that's the fit. This is pretty much the mostly everyday fit.
Beautiful. I love the look. It looks incredible. It's going well with the background. Before we hopped on, I was already telling Jazz, oh my God, you look like you're in a gorgeous living room. It's a vibe, but we can't talk about it till we get on the episode.
I appreciate it. Look, speaking of my mom, this is an image that I took of my mother.
Oh my God, yes. Yeah. And wasn't that the same one in the residency?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Y'all might not know, me and Jazmin were in a residency together, the Black Image Center and Getty residency in 2023.
Yeah.
Yes,
it's been a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to have you here today.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to them people. Honestly, I gained a lot of friends through that.
Yeah.
And also shout out to Black Image Center. We love them over here.
Black Image Center, man. An era.
Truly.
Yeah.
My photographer fit check is this little big
I love the stripes.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I feel like I'm in a silly, goofy mood today, so I got on pastels. My shirt's pastel pink.
Yeah. No, you feel honestly, like a cartoon character, out of cartoon.
That's what it was giving this morning.
Yeah.
And I thought about it. I just got these little lollipop earrings, and I thought about it before I sat down. I was like, I should put on my lollipop earrings, but I didn't. But just know, the vision is there.
The vision is there. It's given.
Just imagine. You feel me? And it's all gonna come together.
Yeah. It's given Onay Kids Next Door,
literally. I was just about to say. Yeah. One of my favorite compliments is, oh, you look like a cartoon character. I love when I find people that look like cartoon characters. Yes. Because honestly, that's the inspo.
Yeah.
That's
interesting.
The inspo.
Huh.
Have you ever did you play PS2 growing up?
Oh, I played Xbox. I played PSP. I wasn't a PlayStation girl, but I was definitely an Xbox girly.
It was this game called Kaya on PS2. Not a lot of people heard of it. I've literally only ever met one other person that was like, oh my God, that was my shit. But it was such a good game. And it basically follows, I don't know if she black, maybe a brown woman.
Okay.
But she got blue locks.
Ooh.
A red little tank top, crop tank top, and cargo jeans.
Oh, and I like it.
that's literally what I want to look like all the time, is
I'm
these animated
gonna have to
characters.
Google that. I'm gonna have to Google
You know
that.
what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Shout out
that's
to Kaya.
interesting.
Shout out to Naughty Dog. I'm pretty sure that was a Naughty Dog production. They made a lot of my favorite video games. But anyway,
I gotta tap in, man. I was over here playing Mario Kart.
also a time, you know, we love Mario.
Also a time, you know.
Okay, let's get into the life check. So photographer life check is anything about like how you're feeling. Something could be happening in your career, in your personal life. It could be something like you're looking forward to, something about a drop. So what's your photographer life check today?
Okay, so cool. This is June 3rd. I feel like May, the month of May, was really like God showing me like that, you know, just a career in art. And, you know, I think May was just him showing me like all these things are possible. And I already knew they were possible, but I think he was just like, here is like tangible proof rather than like, oh, just leaning in on faith. Like May, you know, the show that I worked on for 2 years dropped, and one of my images was featured in the show in the set design for the main character's home. The show's called Forever. And
girl,
so,
you skipping ahead, but let's get into it.
But you know, like that really allowed me to like sell out for prints, like for the first time ever. Like I had never prints like that for real. And just so that whole process, like, you know, just seeing, you know, my image in print and then like actually like packaging them and mailing them off and like, you know, seeing other people receive them. And, you know, I think that was just such a cool process, like to just see like my little art babies go out into the world.
Yeah.
So I think
did you sign them all, or?
Oh yeah, they're numbered, signed.
Yes.
I did 30 copies. So yeah, that was like just really rewarding, and like I think that was like a big milestone in like my photography career.
Absolutely. So just to reiterate for the audience, Forever released not too long ago. It's the new Mara Brock Akil production on Netflix. Y'all need to go watch it. It is so cute.
Tap in.
So Willie's Melons, I remember when you posted that. I love that image. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, ah. Also, Toomey has a photo on the show. I don't remember the name of that piece. Do you remember the name?
I don't remember the name, but I remember the day that she got the email about it, and she was like, "Oh, do you know about this?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's the show that I'm working on."
Yes.
And, so that was really cool too, like, you know, see her working there as well. You know, it's just really rewarding.
It is. Also, Toomey was our first guest for Photographer Life Check. So make sure you listen to this episode and that episode. But that wasn't everything. You were also a background character. And didn't you do some of like the crew merch?
I did crew merch. It wasn't background. I actually had a co-star credit.
Period. Come on. Let the people know.
My very first time speaking on screen, it was hilarious. I read for several characters in our table reads for like Netflix and whatnot. And I read for, you know, I just read for several characters, and one of them was like this person in the movie theater that was like fussing at Justin and Keisha. And, you know, I just said the lines and like people cracked up or whatever. And when we wrapped up, Regina King comes up to me. She's like, "Girl, do you have a SAG card?" I was like, "Nah." And she was like, "We need to get you in the episode. Like, you're really funny." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Like, sure. And then Mara comes up to me. She's like, "We need to send you to casting." And I'm just like, "Okay, sure." But they were for real. And then Kim Coleman, she like called me and she was like, "Oh yeah, the producers want to cast you." And I was like, "Oh, word. Okay, bet." So that's kind of like how I ended up with that part, which is so funny. Like my first time speaking on TV and I'm fussing like my mom or my daddy in the movie theater yelling at kids. My dad legit did that. I remember like on my birthday one year, we went to the movie theater and we went to go see The Best Man Holiday because it came out like I think the day before my birthday. And me and my friends, my parents took me and my friends, and these kids were in the movie theater and they were like being loud. And my dad stood up, was like, "Hey, some of us trying to watch the movie."
Not stood up.
When I think about like that scene and just me yelling at them kids, I'm like, wow, I am my daddy's child.
Look, the way we turn into our parents, sometimes
Look,
it just be coming out and I'll be gagging. I'll be like, oh my God.
yeah, yeah. But the whole experience was truly just really, really fun. So yeah, I'm just grateful.
Okay, can we get into like what came first? Like how did you have like this rolling ball of not only having one of your images featured in the film, but
Hmm.
also being a character and doing merch? Like how did that process order out for you?
So I began working for Mara as her in-house storyteller in August of 2022.
Mhm.
And so we kind of created this role based around my creative abilities and talents. So my job
Nice.
was to help her tell her story using my creative tools, whatever that looks like. And that was just a really great, like, eye-opening experience. Me and Mara became really great collaborators. And so after doing that, yeah, eventually we got the call that Forever was going to get made. And then so we, went into pre-production. And when we're in pre-production, we're of course talking about like set design and, everything like that. And so I was in the art meeting and, I'm just watching them pick out different art or whatever. And Mara had known that I did the photography residency because she was actually my, like, we had to get like letters of recommendations or like
Mm,
references. Like she was one of my references for the residency. So she had
nice.
seen this image, she loved it, and she just wanted to see like more of my images. And she saw the watermelon one, and she was like, "I really like that one." I was like, "That one? Like I thought it was gonna be this one." And she,
Right.
I like the watermelon one, and so they grabbed it.
That's so beautiful. And what about crew merch? Was that
Crew
something
merch.
like once everything was wrapped?
No, so crew merch actually came about. So Mara and Regina are both kind of familiar of my work with Black Filmmaker, which is a brand that
Hmm.
I started in 2020 designed to celebrate Black people on all sides of the camera. And so I started that in 2020, and in 2021, Regina was making her directorial debut for One Night in Miami. And her team reached out and they wanted me to design some merch for her to wear on Saturday Night Live. So I did that. She wore it on Saturday Night Live. It was like a big moment for Black Filmmaker. And so she was already very familiar with the brand. And, X amount of years later, like 4 years later, like she was still wearing the sweatshirts that we sent her. And so one day we're on set and she comes up to me and she's like, "Oh, basically like we really want." There we go. She was like, "We really, I talked tomorrow, and we really want, Black Filmmaker to do the crew merch." And I was like, "Okay, cool." Like, and I was just immediately kind of like just jumped into what the designs could be, and I worked on that for about a week or two, and I just like had a bunch of different ideas for designs and I presented them to Mara and Regina and we ended up with one that I thought was really cool. It was my favorite one. And yeah, that was like the crew merch.
That's so beautiful. I love how everything unfolded for you.
Thank
I
you.
usually give a disclaimer at the top, but every episode we feature the artist, our guests, like website, Instagram, any type
Ooh.
of portfolio space that they have so that people can see the work while they're either watching or listening
Oh,
to the show.
beautiful.
And also,
Yeah.
of course, we drop all the links in the description box if you need to like look later or find folks later. But, just a part of the experience so you can see what we're talking about. This is the image,
Yes.
Willie's Melons, that was featured on the show. And look, sold out. I know that's right.
So out, girl. I'm so happy. Yeah.
I love it. Okay, let
And this
me.
was actually the last day of filming. Like this was our very last day. And so, where everybody's just going around taking pictures and they're like, "Oh, let's get a picture of you
Yeah,
and Mara." And I was like, they was like, "Where are we gonna take it at?" I was like, "Girl, let's go to the photo. Let's go take it over there." So that's where that image came
smart.
from. Hmm.
Okay, let's go back to the top because we jumped ahead a little bit talking about Forever, but that's okay because I
Copy.
absolutely love that show. But I want to get into the brand
Okay.
because as a Chicagoan,
Mm.
I can't shut up about where I'm from. I love it
Yeah.
down. You gonna know where I'm from, and you
I
gonna
know
know that I'm
that's
from the
right.
west side of Chicago.
Come on, West Side.
It's part of the brand. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And as a Chicagoan in that regard, I love when I see other people that go hard for where they from too. It just feels
Yes.
like an energy that I appreciate. And that is something that is clearly a part of your brand. Everything on your website, on your signature, on the emails, on
Yeah.
Instagram, the South got something to say, which, if you don't know, is an iconic quote from Andre 3000, I think from the Source Awards.
Yes.
And I'm like, immediately, I love this. Like, this is the energy I'm talking about. Yes,
Thank
yes, yes.
you.
So I would love if you can get into a little bit more about where you from specifically, and why you love it so hard.
Cool, cool. So I was born in Tallahassee, Florida, Leon County.
Hey.
So Tallahassee's like in the upper panhandle of Florida, and then I was raised in Orlando, Florida, like specifically the west side of Orlando. And I just love the South. I love everything about it. I love the way it sounds. I love the way it smells. I love the texture of it. Like in Florida specifically, like when I just think about some of my greatest childhood memories, like Florida does this thing where like it'll rain for 5 minutes and then stop raining, but the sky and everything will have like this yellowish tint. It was like our world was like kind of dipped in like sepia or something like that. And it would just be so cool. And like I remember like just playing outside and like the whole sky being yellow, and then like the rainbows come in, and then like we playing outside, like it got a certain smell in the air. So like
Yeah.
I feel like that's the energy that I try to put into my work, which makes a lot of my work feel very warm. Um and then on the flip side, like I love like just the aesthetic of like fried fish and fried foods, and just like what that entails. Like typically, like if we're frying fish, that means like family is around. That means we're gathering. And so, and then also like the heat of Florida. So all of those kind of things like are like different memories, or like sensory things that like I try to put into my work.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think I even appreciate it more that I don't live in the South, that I'm like out here in LA. And I think it's important to kind of stay true to what makes you different. Like I think it's easy to come here and, try to align yourself with what everybody else is doing out here. Where everybody else is wearing, where everybody else is dressing, like, you know what I'm saying? Like everything that everybody is doing. But I think like the things that have set me apart was just me like honoring who I was before I got here. And so yeah, just continuing to do that. I think the South got some of the flyest people. I think we make the best music. Sorry. I do. I know we got the best food, but New Orleans and Chicago is great runner-ups. I've never
Talking
even been to
about
Chicago.
runner
I'm
up
just
is
talking.
crazy.
I know I've never even been to Chicago. I was just talking, but I just think like it's just a way of life, and so I just be like, thank God I'm from the South, like, and that's kind of how the branding started.
I appreciate that energy. This is a safe space for
Yeah.
you today as a guest on the
Hey,
podcast. So, you know what I'm saying? All I got to say is Chicago is a number one food city, but
I
I
believe
love the
that.
South. I really do love the South.
I mean, half the people from Chicago, didn't they migrate from the South?
Exactly.
Okay, then. So, as the origin,
Exactly.
I
No.
just feel like we gotta take number one. But
Talk about the blueprint. I'm just saying, my people from Alabama. So
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, like I think all of the sauce comes from the South. It may spread to different places, but y'all know where home is. So,
and I do got some cousins in Florida too. And I appreciate the South. I think the South in a lot of ways is the blueprint. Especially when we're talking about music, the way it seems like music migrates. The originators are directly from the South a lot of the times. And I really appreciate that about the South.
Yeah. And
so it sounds like
it's a different conversation, but I was gonna say like, and I just think like if we think about the film space, I think the South is so limited. Like I love films that are made in the South or shows that are made in the South, but I think a lot of the times, like, Hollywood can't depict us if it's not in a period piece. Like, they don't know what the South looks like today. They only know 1930s and 1970s. So I think it's hard for people to
Yeah.
see the South in a modern sense. So that's why, like, when I feel like I go so hard for the South too, just it's like it's more than, Jim Crow and slavery and like 1970s
Yeah.
job turkey type thing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, those shows are cool, but like it's so much more than that. And I think, it's important to highlight those things.
I appreciate that too because I sometimes I think about the bubble that I live in where I'm like, oh
Mm,
no, like we all are expanding our ideas about what life is like and how we can live it
yeah.
and what these places look like. And then sometimes I talk to somebody out that bubble and they might say something like that, like why would you even go to the South? Like it ain't nothing down there. Like ain't just
Yes.
fields. And I'm
Like,
like,
right.
you think that?
Like
Like
one
people think that.
yes, one girl, love her down, and she was just like, "Oh, I watched Sinners and it made me think of you." And on one hand, like it's great to be thought of, but I was just like,
It's like that's not even the same,
I'm
right?
not from the 1930s. I ain't from Mississippi. Like,
Not
but
from
if you,
Mississippi, completely different
you
cultures.
feel
Like
me? But if all you know from the South, because she's not from the South, if all you know from the South is what Hollywood will give you, then yeah, I guess like I wear a
mhm.
gold too, so I must be like smoking and stacking them. So,
That's
I
so
think it's just
crazy.
like, it just shows like the gap. But
Mhm.
thank God.
I appreciate the fact that you rep it so hard. Like I said, it's like this energy that I personally am attracted to when I see people that are just really proud of where they come from.
Hmm.
Um, I think that potentially for me could mean so many other things about who you are as a person that I think I would enjoy.
Right.
Um, and it sounds like you were the kind of kid that was like outside a lot. Were you
Oh
also like a
yeah.
video kid?
I
Were
was a
you a
video game
tomboy?
kid. I was a tomboy. I grew up in a cul-de-sac, so and I grew up with the same like kids most of my life. Like, I have my group of like childhood friends. Like, we knew each other for so long. I don't even remember us meeting. Like, we
That's so
just always
nice.
knew each other. So yeah, every day playing outside, summertime, like we just played games, and that was just like a really special time. And then if we weren't outside, like we was playing video games. I always had like the GameCube, I had the Xbox, I had the Wii, so like that was like cool as well.
I never had the GameCube. I
Girl, I'm trying to
had
get a GameCube
the
now.
That's what I was just talking to my partner about. I'm like, damn, I want to play the GameCube. I
Yes.
had Nintendo 64, PS2, um, and then jumped all the way up to PS5.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's it. Oh, and a Switch.
Come on, Switch. Yeah, I never wanted to get into the Switch. I was like, bruh, I just want the GameCube. I don't want to have the PSP have GameCube. Like, nah, just give me the GameCube. But yeah, I think all of those things kind of informed my creativity very early. Like,
Mm-hmm.
just simple things like drawing outside or playing with chalk or, I was taking pictures like, we talk about the Tumblr era, like,
A time.
we would go outside and like do photo shoots and, all of that I think informs who I am today.
Yeah. Yeah, and I asked because it does seem like you're heavily inspired by the 2000s.
Mm,
So while we get into that, I'm gonna pull up the website.
okay.
Can you talk a little bit about if I picked that up correctly and if that's true? Can you talk a little bit more about the inspo? I want to show people the texture that you was mentioning earlier, like how you took
Hmm.
things from when you were a kid outside and try to implement that in your work.
Yeah, I think it's a safe assumption. I don't think that's like what I'm chasing like the early 2000s, but I
Mm-hmm.
think I am chasing a feeling, and I think the early 2000s, like for us at our age, I think the early 2000s like feels good. Like it just feels like an era before the one that we're in right now. But yeah, I think mostly I'm chasing like the ideal of like warmth and expression clearly, and color. Like, I think,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of successful photographers, um, they have like big black and white catalogs.
Mm-hmm.
And, I just wanted to really show like how vibrant and beautiful, um, and colorful the South can be. Because I think oftentimes, like going back to what we were talking about, like I think, films or TV shows can kind of just express it as like dull and small town and whatnot. So I try to implement like these colors that feel good into my work as well.
Yeah. Do you think you ever move back to the South?
Um, I mean, if the money and recognition allows, like I think it would be cool, like to be bi-coastal for
Yeah.
sure. Um, but yeah, I would definitely like love to have like, just several homes and one definitely being, or one or two being in Florida for sure. It's so funny, like
Nice.
looking at these, like it's definitely different stages in my life. Like a lot of these photos are
Yeah.
taken like in my college apartment, and then like some of them were taken when I first got to LA and didn't really have, a place of my own to stay at. And so I
Yeah.
think I'm able to see my journey in these photos.
That's why I don't archive all of my old stuff. Like sometimes I get in the mood and I might archive certain images, but I
Yeah,
love when you can see the trajectory for real.
right.
Can you talk a little bit about maybe the differences for you? Like in terms of your trajectory, do you feel like there has been maybe a theme that has grown on you over time, a concept, a subject?
Mm. Um, it's so funny because like it was like the Tumblr era. Well, one, I will say like my elementary school was the best elementary school in the world. It was called Nat
Oh,
14
cute.
School, and that school just exposed us to so much. Like we had a banking program, we had, dance, theater, and when I was like in third grade, we had the UCF Create Camp. So my elementary school partnered with UCF College, or University of Central Florida, and they taught us film making and photography. Like they gave us disposable cameras,
Oh,
and we were
wow.
able to like make movies with our photos and like just learn story and whatnot. And this was in third grade, so I feel like that kind of gave me that spark. And then nurturing it through middle school, we have like the Pixar era where we like designing, our photos and whatnot. And then getting into like
I remember
Tumblr.
using Pixar too.
Oh my God, girl, the contrast will be way up here. Um,
Okay.
right. But I feel like, all those things. And then eventually when I got to high school, I was definitely like, I was just always doing photo shoots, like always just, hey, let's go take pictures downtown, or let's go take pictures here. And then that rolled into me taking like all of my friends' graduation, I mean, not graduation, like their senior photos. And so that kind of helped me like just sharpen like my portraiture skill. And then get into college where I'm like in a new environment, new faces that kind of allowed me to just like continue to just better myself at it. And it was definitely a passion that I didn't mind just always working towards. And I think like around like my senior year of college, like I was finding my style. Um,
Mm.
yeah, I was finding my style. And then I think once I got out here and just like, I was also exposed to film photography in college by one of my great friends. His name is Tim. He gifted me a point and shoot camera. And
Hey, shout out to
that really
Tim.
kind of, shout out to Tim. And that really opened my eyes to like the world of film. And then eventually, I was really hooked on that. But Tallahassee is such a small town. All we had was like Walgreens to develop the film. And so that's when I
Oh,
learned
yeah.
how to develop, because girl, Walgreens is not about to keep messing up my photos. It was like these green
Okay,
tint.
I definitely also was there. And yes, it's green as hell in
It's green. Like,
Walgreens.
why? Because I know it's not the film. So I learned to develop photos. And once I learned that, like just being able to physically make an image, like that was like really just a really attractive process. And then, coming out here, I was just able to hone on it more because the resources out here are endless. But yeah, I think like just constantly, literally from like third grade to like now, just kind of continuing this practice has been extremely helpful.
Yeah, and I think that it makes so much more sense how your bio is so extensive.
Mm,
I introduced you as the illustrious because you really do it all. It's really giving Renaissance woman
thank you.
because she's a photographer, director, painter, filmmaker, designer, poet,
Poet,
businesswoman, actress. You know what I'm saying? Like, really does it all.
thank
And
you.
one thing I really love about all the pockets that you have in your own creative life is that they feel the same. Like it's
Mm,
almost like the color palette is the same across the board, even though
mhm,
everything is in visual. Like from the poetry, I learned about your poetry from visiting your website, and I was like,
mhm,
she a poet too? Like, damn, this is crazy. But even the way you write, it feels like your images. It feels like the
mm,
acting that you did. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
I was just like, look at this is like a one whole big picture. And I thought it was really incredible.
thank you. I be trying to like substitute like watching so much TikTok with like watching like interviews and just like,
Yeah.
from like my favorite artists. And one thing that Tyler, the creator, said that kind of really stuck with me, he was like, I don't necessarily build brands, I build worlds. And I was just like,
Mm-hmm.
that makes so much sense. Like just building a world of what my creativity is. And I think that cohesion that you feel is from me honoring the two things that I think like give me the most, which is God and being from the South. So once I
Mm.
put those two in the forefront, it's like all the other things that I do, whether medium is poetry, whether it's designing pants, or whether it's, doing XYZ, like all of those things kind of funnel through those two, categories. And they just have like this cohesion.
Yeah. And it feels right.
Thank you.
Let me know if this is a bit personal, but and you don't have to answer if it is.
Let me drink some water, child.
No, just because you talk about please do, but just because you're talking about basically your relationship with God and your relationship with the South
Mhm.
informs your creativity.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm just wondering, how did you develop your spirituality? And
Mm.
also, like, how did you develop your spirituality to marry it into your creativity? I've talked to some other people about their spirituality with their creativity on the podcast. And some
Mm.
people said, like, it's not really related. Like, I feel very guided by God. Um, and so it's like speaking through me, but I'm not always thinking about God or,
Mm.
not necessarily trying to channel God. Like, that isn't at the forefront. And
Yeah.
I guess I'm wondering just like how your relationship feels or looks to you.
Let's get into it. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I guess the short answer of that is I feel like my greatest ideas come from God. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like God is in every creative process that I do. Um, and yeah, like I just feel, I used to always say, like, and I think it's on my website as well, like, I feel closest to God when I am creating. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so I guess backstory, I was raised in a Christian household, but I wasn't forced to go to church. And while I think that's something I used to feel insecure about, just because like society says, like, you have to do these things to be like a
Mm-hmm.
Christian or whatever. But I think on the flip side, like a lot of people experience church hurt, and I think it
Mm-hmm.
it like informs how they see God or how they feel about God. And so thankfully, I never had that experience because I didn't go to church. And so I think that allowed me to find a relationship with God that was customizable and specifically for me. And by doing so, I think like I'm able to just admire God, one for, who he is, but also like for the artist that he is. And like once I realized that, like, oh, you made me an artist just like you. And then, like, being able to witness your art. Like, when I talk about the warmth that we see in the sky after it rains and it's rainbows, like, God created that. Or like when we in LA,
Yeah.
it's like the most beautiful sunset, and we'd be like, wow, like God created that. So once I was able to, like, just really look at the art that we're constantly around and realize that, like, the same person that made this made me, it just like clicked. And like I just started like asking God to come into my creative practice. I remember very specific moments in my life where, like, I felt God say something and that manifested through me. Like when I started Black Filmmaker, I had this idea, didn't know what I wanted to call it, but I knew I just wanted to celebrate like filmmakers on all sides of the camera, because I felt like, that's my way of being of service. And I literally just heard God say, Black filmmaker, no vowels. I was just
Okay.
like, okay. I wrote it out. I was like, okay, that is kind of fly. And like seeing how that has opened doors for me, seeing how that has helped me build communities for people, seeing how that has like helped people feel seen through me, like, so I was like, yeah, like I want God to be a part of all my processes. And I will say two more things. Like, one, I don't know why, but I feel like God speaks to my creative ideas like the most in the showers. When I'll be in the shower and I get an idea and I'll be like, oh, let me hurry up and get out.
I gotta get back to that desk. Hold on.
Like I need to write it down. So I always say, like, when I got buku money, like I want to make sure like my shower space is like, one, yes, beautiful, but I need it to be able to like capture thought. I don't know if it got to be real big, so I can go on this side of the shower, like write something down real quick.
God,
I don't know, but I
yes.
feel like God, like I don't know if it's something about water and all that. I think that's definitely like spiritually as well, but like that just like allows me to hear God's like voice. And then one thing I kind of do in my creative process that instantly brings me to God is one video. It's a bunch of videos of the same thing, but it's this video on YouTube of Whitney Houston singing I Have Nothing. And I forgot what award show it is, but she just sang so beautiful, like, and it was just like very orchestra behind her. And I always watched that, and like people started clapping for her before she even finished. And I always watched that to realize, like, the same God that made this talent made mine. And so whenever like I just need inspiration, like I'll just go to that video. I literally play that video like on repeat for hours, and it just helps me, like, just drawing God to my process. It's super random, but yeah.
Is that the one with the gold turban?
No, she's wearing a red dress. It's like a bluish like stage, and it's just the orchestra
Okay,
behind her.
yeah.
It's really just her, the mic, and the band, and like she's just singing this song so effortlessly. And I just be like, man, like the same God who made her talents, who made the talents of the band, because I also played an instrument for 3 years, is the same
What
God that made my
instrument?
talent. I played clarinet.
Oh, come on. I did me
But
a
we're in it.
little
Yeah.
okay.
Felt very seen by SpongeBob.
Yes.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that context too. It makes so much sense to me. Especially when you talk about like nature in particular. I honestly was just talking to my therapist about this yesterday.
Shout out to
Because
therapy.
shout
I
out to
don't got
therapy, shout out to
one.
Monica, my girl for
Come on,
real.
Monica.
But somehow we got on like how Earth is a living being. And I was like, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the Earth is always talking to me. One thing I always say when I feel like maybe I'm on like one of them really beautiful hikes, or I done traveled somewhere and I'm just like real deep in some nature. One thing I say is like, damn, I'm really on Earth with it right now. Like I'm really in this bitch right now. Like this shit is incredible.
Because where
But
else would you rather be? Like, you
okay.
feel me?
But to me, that part to me stands out because I personally feel very connected to spirituality when I'm one in water, or two really feeling like I'm connected to nature in some way. I'm definitely one of those kinds of people that I feel like I see trees waving their leaves. I feel like if you touch a tree or a certain plant, that you can definitely pick up their energy, and that it can be like a healing kind of energy. And to me, that's God. That's God talking to us. That's God trying to heal us. And just, I mean, the magnificent way that the perfect amount of like chemicals and gases were created to not only support our species, but then a million other species on this planet. Like, and
the man is cold. The man is cold, man.
Really snapping every day. Just every day. Keeping this bitch going every day.
For millions of years. Like, man.
You know what I'm saying? So I completely, deeply resonate with that feeling. And the fact that you mentioned Whitney Houston, music to me is also a very clear indicator of deep spirit, deep spirituality, which, if y'all have watched Sinners, I personally can't shut up about how music is spirituality in and of itself. And I think it is because people are tapping into their highest power, their deepest creativity, when they're making music that causes you to go into a trance. It makes you want to move. Like, this is, we're having a spiritual connection right now. And thinking about the South in that way, like, so much music originates from the South, like we mentioned earlier, but also is the kind of music that makes you want to move, is the kind of music that gets you up. Whether we talking about line dancing or jigging or anything that came
even
out,
just the snap movement, like Soulja Boy, like
the snap movement,
the crunk, like all of it. I just feel like it is definitely like a vibrational thing, you know?
It's definitely like just an energetic transference. And I just really appreciate your context that you provided. Thank you.
I don't know. I think it's just such an honor, and it's such a blessing to think that, like, because God don't make everybody artists. Sometimes He make people scientists, and we need them too. But like, for Him to look at me and be like, I want you to create, and He is the creator, and I'm just like, man, that's such an honor.
That's a bar.
Yeah.
Let's get into a little bit more of the creating, because I want to talk a little bit about your filmmaking.
Lit.
Just to intro to filmmaking, I need some clarity here, because I be seeing directed by Cleo. Your socials is Cleopatra's daughter. So who is Cleo?
So Cleopatra's daughter was like my Tumblr name. And then it was my first Instagram name. I feel like I was like a very like pro-black teenager. Like, I used to wear dashikis to school, and all of that. So, and like Queen Latifah, like, loved her. So I think I was just kind of searching for like what's gonna be like my version of Queen Latifah, and I was like, oh, Cleopatra's daughter. And then Frank Ocean's like album came out when I was in high school, so we hear the Cleopatra pyramids, and I was like, oh yeah, Cleopatra's daughter. I really like the sound of that. And eventually, when I got to college, I was a part of FAMU's poetry group called Voices, and we all went by like poet names. Like, we didn't go by our real names, so my poet name was Cleo. So a lot of people called me Cleo in college anyway, and it just kind of stuck.
Cool. Because at first, when I first seen it, I thought it was like a really lovely ode. You know how some people bios be like, firstly, I am the daughter of XYZ. So I'm like, damn, the whole brand for her mama, like, how beautiful.
Right, my mom be like, my name is not Cleo. I'm like, well, Anne's daughter, don't. But yeah, it's so funny. She always, my name is not Cleo.
Talk about get it together.
So, and I think I just carried that into like my filmmaking, specifically like filmmaking that like I am in control of, because a call sheet gonna have the name that's on the pay stub, which yes, let's do
Right.
that. But for the stuff that I've created, I've been able to like kind of have that autonomy and like, wanted to be directed by Cleo.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So I'm curious around the types of stories that you want to tell.
Mm.
I've seen on here there's a few like BTS stories or like the Mara Brock Akil one. It felt a
Mm-hmm.
little like documentary style kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
What's your goal in filmmaking? Like, do you want to do more cinematography? Do you want to do cam op, directing mostly? How you feeling?
I don't think I think I'm still figuring out what type of stories I want to tell,
Mm-hmm.
but I think the one thing I am sure of is like I I want to merge worlds, I think. So I've been working on a pilot that I've been writing for a few years, but the
A writer
comps,
too. Come on.
yeah, the
Yes.
comp.
Love to see it.
You pick up some things working for Mara Brock Akil. But the
Okay.
the comps that I would say makes this show is like the show Hollywood by Ryan Murphy meets Atlanta by, Donald Glover, and like just seeing like I got for context, I also worked at an amusement park for 5 years. I worked at Universal Studios, so that was my first job, and I worked there for 5 years. So like I had the whimsicalness of working at a theme park where like everything is like big and expressive and imaginative, but also like if Orlando,
Mm-hmm.
the theme parks be in the hood, so like leaving there and like going back to my neighborhood. So just seeing those two worlds meet, and I think those are the things like I'm constantly trying to put two worlds in conversation or multiple worlds in conversation. So even like this is one of my favorite visuals. It's called The Fried Supper. And it's like, putting this biblical thing of like the Last Supper and the table and like people sitting, but like placing it in the South. So I
Mm-hmm.
think just like putting, these ideas in conversation with each other. So I think that's ultimately what I want to do, but I don't know what stories, they are. I think as, we grow in life, the stories will change. Like right now I'm working on, that project that kind of just details my coming of age, but then, I might write something for my 20s because, I'm in my latter half of my 20s. So, yeah.
Hmm. On a side note,
Mhm.
what's a Florida flip fish fry
Oh,
side? Because in Chicago, our fish fries is fish and spaghetti.
you know, I heard about you people. I heard about you people. So one of my homegirls, she's from St. Louis, and I had never heard of the whole spaghetti and fried fish thing.
What?
And she's a really, really great chef. And she made some fried fish and spaghetti like when I first got out here in 2021, and I just was like, okay, like I'll try it.
An
And it was
angel,
good.
honestly. It's
It was
great. It goes
it really
perfectly together.
perfectly is it was good. It was good. I will say that.
Okay,
But
so what's at y'all fish fries?
I had never heard like we do like first of all bread, like you gotta have the white
Of
bread.
course. Yeah, yeah.
Um Grits, cheese grits.
I've heard. I've heard.
Cheese
I've never
grits.
done it, but I've heard.
Really,
I
girl.
well, specifically for me, I don't eat cheese, so I wouldn't have
Okay.
cheese grit. But like a thicker grit, like a shrimp and grit. So
Yeah,
I've
like
heard
something like
people
that.
do,
Yeah.
yeah, like a
But no,
catfish and
girl, I
grits.
love some hot grits with some butter and cheese. Yeah. So that a lot of times it'd be like fish and grits. If you want to get fancy, we could do some hush puppies, and then like if
I love a
everybody
hush
bringing
puppy.
something, like it could be potato salad, could be some regular
Right.
salad. But as long as you got the right hot sauce, that's really kind of all you need.
Nah, I agree with you
Um,
there.
yeah, what kind of hot sauce
Cause
you like?
I'm a Louisiana's hot sauce kind of
Okay,
girl. On fried fish,
yeah, that's
staple right
good.
there.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
And if
I
you ain't
like
got
Crystal.
Louisiana's, I was about to say, if you ain't got Louisiana's,
I
I'll
like
take
Crystal.
Crystals.
You know, Crystal got a
But,
nice
you know what I'm
little
saying?
add to it.
Don't give me, I got some hard nose. I think
Don't
I
give me
have
no
very,
Tapatio.
hello. There are specific hot sauces for specific things, babes.
Yeah.
We can't be mixing over
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. So yeah, I think like, you know, just even that, like merging like the idea of like this biblical ideology with like the South, like, you know, just putting things in conversation and perspective is like what I'm ultimately trying to do.
Today's episode is brought to you by Art House, the first Black-owned film lab in the city of Los Angeles. All my photography homies love Art House because they specialize in C41, black and white, E6, and ECN2 processing for both 35 millimeter and medium format film, all while using a custom-built cinema scanner to get you those stunning movie quality stills. So go pick up and drop off a roll at their new location in Chinatown and check them out at arthousefilmlab.com or Arthouse Film Lab on IG and tell them we sent you.
But yeah, we have a fish fry at our house every week.
Every week?
Every week, girl. Every
That's
Wednesday.
beautiful.
Yeah. You know, just trying to stay communal during this
I know.
turmoil of industry.
I'm trying to figure out how to do stuff weekly. I've been barbecuing a lot over the past
Come on, barbecue.
year or 2 years. I'm changing my name to Unc for real because
Okay.
I'm going
She
crazy.
said
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm changing my name to Unc. It's hilarious. That is funny.
Okay, so I want to get into Black filmmaker a little bit more before we transition to the last few segments of the show.
Okay.
You talked about how you made the crew merch, and you have a little bit of varieties, but I'm curious because you're a designer. I saw some other pants you made where you had some images on the sides.
You're talking about these.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love when I see images on clothing. For instance, Kaylin does the cyanotypes
Yes.
on clothes.
Kaylin helped, like, she saved the day on these pants.
Oh my God, really?
I didn't have a printer, and like the fabric paper needed a very specific printer, and FedEx didn't have it, Staples didn't have it, and Kaylin came through. So shout out to her.
Shout out to Kaylin. Also a previous guest. My girl.
Come on, you got all the LA photographers.
Okay. The girls are on Photographer Life Check.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about how you brought those to life too?
Yeah.
And also, will you be selling those? Will those be a part of Black Filmmaker?
You know, let's talk about how I created them. It was one of those shower ideas. Like, you know, I knew the premiere to Forever was going to be coming up. And I just wanted to fly. Like, I just wanted it to be the flyest in the room. I would say, like, I wanted just something super dope, super fly. And when I just think about, like, I think one thing that I really do love about, like, the 2000s era, like, everybody's outfits were so personal to them. Mm-hmm. Like, I think you could take the clothes off people's outfits and you could guess who these outfits belong to. I don't think you can do that today. I think everything is synonymous. It's just like, okay.
Yeah, it does feel like there's more of like, oh, these few people.
Yeah.
Like, you know, Wisdom K on TikTok.
Yeah.
Like, you see his outfit not on his body, you like, oh yeah, that's a Wisdom K. But you can't do that for everybody.
You can't. And it's very rare. So like when I was just thinking about like, you know, how do I want to show up in this space? I was like, I just want an outfit that is unique to me, and I also, and this leads into Black Filmmaker, but being able to showcase my interests through clothing is what helped me launch Black Filmmaker. And so that kind of resonated with these pants. So yeah, I was in the shower, got an idea for the pants. I was like, oh, let me sketch this out. And I literally prayed about it. I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but this is what I want to do. I think it'd be really cool. And so I went to my good friend Lorraine, and she's an extremely talented designer. She's, you know, I don't know the sewing terms, but I guess she's a seamstress. And I went with her to with this idea, and she was like, "Oh yeah, this is easy." I'm like, "Is it?" And so she just kind of definitely. I did like the assistant work. She put them together.
Oh,
Um,
incredible. Shout out
and
to, you
yeah,
said Lorraine. Shout
Lorraine,
out to Lorraine for that.
Lorraine, the designer on Instagram. But
Oh, boom. I'll put
yeah,
her link in the description.
she just definitely turned these up, and she had like, she's like studied fashion, so she had like the know-how to get them done. And yeah, they're like, look, there's a fire. I'm saving my teddy bear. I'm saving my in these pants, and like my pictures of my grandma.
Okay.
Like that's it. So but yeah, and it's just like, I wanted to really highlight Black love on screen because, I was wearing them to the Forever premiere. So like in every frame, we start with like the first time we ever see Black people kissing on screen,
Mm-hmm.
to like my favorite show, The Parkers, Mo Better Blues,
Yes.
Loving Basketball. This is from my short film, so this is me and my
Come on.
co-star
You better
Carmen.
have yourself in there with the
Oh, girl,
grapes. Come
yeah. We
on.
got sinners here, like, Martin and
Yes.
Gina. So I just really wanted to highlight just Black love on screen with these. So, yeah.
Beautifully executed. I'm also rewatching The Parkers right now for the
Girl,
millionth time. It's like my nighttime show right now.
my favorite show of all time.
I love
Shout
them
out
so bad.
Seraphine Johnson. Love
Truly,
her.
truly.
I really learned early on in my career to like, I got the idea for Black Filmmaker. To make a long story short, I was working on Terrell Alvin McCraney's show, David Makes Man. My first day on the show, I'm wearing a FAMU shirt because I'm like a sophomore at FAMU at this time. And the director, Todd, I forgot his last name, but it's Todd, I think like A Rios or something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong. But he was like, "Oh, what's up, FAMU?" And I was like, "Oh, it's FAMU, not FAMU." He was like, "What's
Right.
up, FAMU?" So like every time he would see me, he was like, "Hey, FAMU." And I was just like, "Oh, like, he could read, duh." Like he read my shirt. So that's how like, he remembers me. And I was like, man, like, it was also my first time working on a set in a crew form because I had been like an extra in like a lot of Tyler Perry stuff. And, but I was like, oh, this is a way for me to communicate my aspirations without having to say anything at all. Because, set is so fast paced moving. So I was like, oh, if I wear a shirt that says written and directed by, they gonna know I want to be a writer and director. I don't got to say nothing.
There you go.
And so that idea snowballed into Black Filmmaker.
In fact, let me pull it back up.
Yeah.
Because
Expression.
I love how you have named the color palettes for each hoodie. It's so perfect.
Thank you.
But another thing I thought was really impressive is when you go into your piece, you get to pick which thing that applies to you. Look at all the things. Oh my God, I love this.
Yes.
I'm very pleased.
And that's like, just important to the idea of like wanting to celebrate everybody, like, from the PA to the showrunner. So, that was one thing I wanted to make sure, which also is kind of like, it's the blessing. And I don't want to say the curse. I'm never going to say the curse, but it is the hard thing to get like Black filmmaker into manufacturing because, typically manufacturers, like they are like one design, may have a minimum. And so like if my designs are not, uniform, because I could have 3 writers, but like 4 DPs, then it's kind of hard to like do that on a mass production. So that's something that I've yet to figure out.
Love this. I feel like I could already use maybe about 3 of them. Shout out
Come
to
on now.
you, feel me? But we need a photographed by. How they know
We
photographed
do.
by?
We do.
We need
Look,
a
you know what's
photographed
crazy?
by.
A lot of the titles I didn't have to start with. Like, but people would email me like, "Hey, I want a show ran by."
Yeah.
And I'd be like, "Okay, yeah, let me add a show ran by." So like
the COVID compliance by was hilarious.
Girl, I was in
so
the
real.
apartment streets and they was like, "We want one." I was like, "You know what? Yes, y'all do one too." So yeah, like a lot of, and that just came with like, my growth of learning the industry and learning about these different roles. So Yeah. It's definitely like a relationship with the community. Like they teaching me stuff too.
That's beautiful. I'm happy to
Hmm.
hear it. Well,
Thank you.
this sounds like a good little place to take a little break, so we'll be right back. And we're back.
Hmm.
So these next couple little segments are some of my favorites of the whole show. And
Ooh.
it's a little faster pace. So
Okay.
first up is photographs not taken. This segment is probably my favorite segment, honestly.
Hmm.
I named it after this book called Photographs Not Taken, which is a collection of essays by a bunch of photographers that this artist found. And he just asked them, like, what's a photograph you wish you would have taken, but you
Mm.
weren't able to? And like, however they perceived that question,
Hmm.
they submitted their responses. So my
Hmm.
question to you is, what's a photograph you wish you would have taken?
I have a very specific one. I gained an angel in my grandmother in 2023. It was actually right
Mm-hmm.
before we started, or I think it might have been during the residency. It was in March.
Oh.
So it might have been during or like right before. But yeah, she passed in 2023. And I went back home and my dad was her only child, and they were very close. Like he was there when she took her last breath, and when we went to the funeral home to go view the body or whatever, she had like this really lovely casket. And I kind of went to the back of the funeral home, and I just was kind of just looking at the room, kind of stepping away. And my dad was just like looking at her, and in a way, like I felt like they both were at peace. At least
Mm-hmm.
that's what it appeared to be. And I wish I would have took that photo. And I think in my head I was like, who brings out their camera to a funeral home? I'm like, girl, this is
Yeah.
my grandma. Like, who
Okay.
gonna check me? So like, yeah, I wish I would have took that photo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I completely relate because some people have taken the photo of like the people in the casket, which
That'd be a
is
lot. Like
fine.
at the funeral, like
That's fine for your phone.
for your
Posting
phone.
that
Yeah, yeah, no.
felt so crazy.
Yeah, and that's
This a little too much.
That's too much. Yeah, no. And this, like like I literally could see it in my head, like the framing, like
Oh.
like it was just it was tasteful, and I think it was like I think everybody would have respected the image because the image didn't feel exploitative. It just felt like you know I don't want to say a conclusion, but it just felt like on to the next chapter. And
Mm.
yeah, I really wish I would have took that photo.
It
I
sounds
think
like a
I was
really
like, it
beautiful
was too dark
image.
in there. Like that, my film ISO. Like, girl, you should have just took.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Can you imagine a flash at a funeral? Like that's crazy. That's
insane.
crazy.
Um,
But no, I that sounds like a really beautiful image. I could see it. Like,
mhm.
I mean, you didn't give any colors, but like I painted the whole image in my head and it really
Yeah, and of course,
I can
like
see how
I
it
feel
lives with
like
you.
funeral homes and like these really rural, small town areas, like it just added so much character to who
Hmm.
she was and like the environment that she lived in. So yeah, I really wish I would have documented that.
Well, shout out to grandma.
Shout out
We
to Miss
love grandmas
Jean.
here. I feel like
Yes.
grandmas come up every single episode. Like we
Oh my
love grandma here.
goodness. I can't wait to be one. Like
I know it's
that's
gonna
gonna
be
be
so
dope.
beautiful.
Yeah.
I didn't come prepared for today's photograph not taken with my own photograph, which I usually do.
Mm-hmm.
But what I will say is I just came back from Tulsa not too long ago.
Mm.
It was my first time in Tulsa and I created a lot of images, but I also saw a lot of images.
Mm.
And so I guess my experience isn't exactly the prompt. Like there isn't a photo I wish I would have taken,
Mm-hmm.
but it's more like there are photos that I wish I could see more of that were not
Mm.
available
Yeah.
because of what happened in Tulsa during the massacre.
Yeah.
But what I did see when I was in like the Black Wall Street area, there was a plaque of a photography studio, which I think was called Hip Hop
Mm.
Photography, and the plaque was like, um, started this date, destroyed this date due to
Oh.
the massacre. Right. So it was heavy, and I mean, I took a picture of that on my phone, but like like, of course, that's one that stood out to me, but
Mm-hmm.
it's like, I wish I had the image of the shop. I wish I could see
Yeah.
inside the shop. Like, what kind of
Yeah.
cameras did they have? I wish I could see the
Right.
people. Like, who could afford cameras back then? Like, I want to
Right.
know who was shooting. What does that mean? Like, is it a studio that they shot in when people were getting photographed, or could people buy cameras from there? Like, it was
So
a
many
time where I
things.
like, yeah. And
Yeah.
there still are quite a few images. I went to the museum down there. So there's still images of the time, but of course, like, so much got destroyed that
Mm-hmm.
there just isn't enough. As a person without roots in Tulsa, not from Tulsa, there's so much I can't visually see that I wish that I could.
Yeah.
And all that is left is basically the ashes of the massacre.
Yeah.
So yeah, my photograph's not taken today is not even my own, like,
Mm.
photograph I wish I could take, but that, like, I wish were
Wish I
still
could
available.
see.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
throughout these different historical events in our lives.
Yeah. No, that's special. And I think that's why also too, like, you know, I think it's great to, you know, get in the studio and do portrait photography and, like, you know,
Yeah.
shoot these ultra pose things, but I think it's nothing like, you know, just documenting the world
Just as it looks like,
as
just
it
as it
looks.
is.
Yeah. So I think that's like very, very important.
Yeah. All right, next segment. We have the gear don't matter, but
Oh,
I love this segment because typically people be gassed. People be like,
right,
okay, now we talking, like, what's up?
right.
I named it this because the first thing that people always ask creatives, or specifically photographers,
What camera do you
what
use?
camera you use? What camera did you take
Mm-hmm.
this on? And, in some ways that's real, but my perception is that, like, if you have an eye, you have a creative gift, you can make shit shake no matter what. So
Yeah,
it really
yeah,
don't matter what kind of camera
yeah.
you're using, what kind of gear you're using. But we love our gear. I love my
Mm-hmm.
gear. It helps us
Do
create the things we use.
yes.
So I would love for you to say, what's your favorite piece of equipment that you use? And it doesn't have to be a camera, but just to show a
Mm.
little love to the gear.
Well, I think mine's is a camera. I would say two. And yeah, so one, my favorite camera that I own is my Pentax 6.7. Love
Mm-hmm.
it down. I think it just creates beautiful images. It feels good in the hands. It got the wood grip. Um,
It
I
is a
love the way
really pretty camera
oh
too.
my God, I love the way it sounds when like that shutter is just distinct. And some of my favorite images that I've created were through that camera. And I'll probably also say my Super 8 just
Mm-hmm.
because capturing motion, and I think it allows me to just convey such a feeling. Um, yeah, those two. And I don't know, I think it's something so interesting that like the Super 8 is like kind of shaped like a weapon. Like it literally
Yeah.
like, you know, it looks like
Yeah.
this. And like, you know, when we talk about like, you know, the ideology that like the camera can be a weapon and Gordon Parks and all those
The
things.
choice of
So
weapon. Yeah.
yeah. And yeah, even like when I met Spike Lee and just knowing his origin story, like he was gifted a Super 8. So like I was just
Mm.
really excited when I got mine. So I would say those two.
Beautiful. I still
Yeah.
haven't used the Pentax yet, but
Oh, you gotta
I
tap in.
know I really need to use one, maybe rent
It's
one or
special.
something.
Yeah. Or if you
Yeah.
ever want to borrow mine, just let me know. But it's
I appreciate that. That's very
yeah.
kind. Okay, our last segment is shoot your shot. So, who
Mm.
is somebody you would love to work for, or it could be a company?
Um, I would love to either work for, be signed to, or be
Come on.
mentored by Melina Matsoukas and her company Della Revolution. Love their work, love the artists,
Oh.
and I love that they represent the multifaceted creative. Like they have people there that like do photography, but also direct, but also like do art direction, but also like paint. And I feel like that just seems like the perfect place for me to like grow
Yeah.
roots in. And I just love Melina. I love everything about her.
I know. I do love Melina. Melina!
Melina,
Get Jazz
girl,
on the line.
check your email, girl.
Okay.
But yeah, when I worked on Insecure, like I was able to just watch her direct and like definitely like I was just off to the side just staring at her. I was like, man, bro, she really the GOAT. And then,
Yeah.
you know, since then, like she's kind of founded Della Revolution and just admiring all of the artists that she's brought on board. So yeah, I think that will be my shot. I mean, I've definitely shot my shot through that company email a bunch of times. So
Okay.
yeah.
Y'all need to get back to Jazz right now.
Qurissy said.
Okay.
So
Jazz,
yeah.
thank you so much for today. This has been so beautiful to have you on the show.
Thank you for
See
having
some of your
me.
work and be able to talk about, I mean, not even the full journey, but just parts of your journey.
You
I
know,
feel like people are going to take away so much.
I appreciate you.
Yeah. Can you tell the people where you would like to be found, darling?
Oh, you can get my work. You can check out just my whole world, whether that's photography, whether that's film, whether that's poetry. Everything is southernfriedminimalism.com. And then on Instagram, it's a few different places. It's Cleopatra's Daughter and Black Filmmaker. That's BLKFLMMKR. And then in person, I'll be in a gallery on Juneteenth in New York
Hey.
for the Monad Gallery.
Oh
So
my
yeah.
God, yes.
Yeah, you could check it out in person as well.
If you have a flyer for that, I'd love to post it so folks can
Yeah,
know.
they need to send one. They kind of late, but
Yeah.
when I have one, I'm gonna send it to you.
Okay, cool. Beautiful. Oh my God, that's gonna be so fun. So
Thank you. I'm
everybody in New
excited.
York, make sure y'all pop into that Monet Gallery. I mean, there's gonna be so many incredible
Yes,
artists there too
I'm
anyway.
so
So
excited.
there's gonna
Yes.
be a lot to see.
Hmm.
You can find Photographer Life Check on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, literally anywhere you get your
Come
podcasts.
on. She said different
Please,
channels.
okay, like
Yeah.
tap in. Specifically, you can watch us on Spotify and YouTube. So please be sure to rate us 5 stars, leave comments, interact. It helps us out more than you know. This week, the week we're recording, is our 4 month anniversary. We're growing. We're still babies, but we're growing. Oh my God.
Congrats,
So
girl.
thank you so much. So please continue to, tell your friends, tell your people where we at so they can get into the girls. And we'll see y'all next week.
Amen.
Bye.
Bye.